Across this first season, we have already met many ways of thinking about communication. Plato worried that persuasive speech could move people away from truth. Aristotle explained how persuasion works through character, emotion, and argument. Locke asked how words stand for ideas. Mill defended public discussion as a way to test opinion. Peirce enters this story with a different central question. How does a sign lead someone to interpret the world, form a belief, and act? For Peirce, communication is not only persuasion or expression, it is a process of signs, interpretation, inquiry, and consequences. So the key question is not simply who talked about meaning. Many thinkers did. The question is, how does meaning actually grow through interpretation? Before we begin, a brief production note. This episode uses AI-assisted images, narration voice, music, and editing to support educational explanation. The historical visuals are symbolic illustrations. They are not presented as documentary footage, authentic photographs, or exact reconstructions of events. The purpose is to make communication theory visually clear, while keeping the interpretation, structure, and educational framing transparent. Charles Sanders Peirce was an American philosopher, logician, scientist, and founder of pragmatism who asked how signs become meaningful through interpretation. He begins from a very practical problem. We often argue over important words: belief, truth, justice, freedom, intelligence, democracy. But what do these words actually mean? A dictionary can help, but Peirce thought that definition alone was not enough. To understand a concept, we must ask what difference it would make in experience, action, and inquiry. This is where Peirce becomes important for communication theory. Meaning is not just what a speaker intends, it is what a sign leads interpreters to expect, test, and do. Earlier thinkers often treated communication through speech, persuasion, public judgment, or the relation between words and ideas. Peirce shifts the center of gravity. For him, communication is not only about a speaker moving an audience, it is about signs guiding inquiry. A sign matters because it helps someone form an interpretation, and that interpretation can shape belief, expectation, and action. This is why Peirce belongs at the end of Season 1. He closes the story of rhetoric by opening a new story: communication as the interpretation of signs. Take the word belief. In ordinary speech, we might say a belief is something in the mind. Locke might lead us to ask how words represent ideas. A rhetorician might ask how belief can be persuaded. Mill might ask how beliefs should be tested in public discussion. Peirce asks something sharper. What habit of action does this belief create? If I believe it will rain, I carry an umbrella. If a scientist believes a hypothesis, she designs a test. For Peirce, belief has meaning because it organizes expectation and conduct. This is Peirce's pragmatism. It does not mean whatever is useful is true. It means that the meaning of an idea becomes clear when we understand its conceivable practical consequences. In communication, this gives us a powerful tool. When someone says, "I believe this source is trustworthy," Peirce would ask, what follows from that belief? Do you share the article? Do you doubt other evidence? Do you change your behavior? A message communicates not only by saying something, but by shaping the habits of interpretation that follow. Peirce's most important contribution to communication theory is his triadic model of the sign. To make this simple, imagine you see smoke rising over a hill. The smoke is the sign. The fire is the object the sign points to. Your interpretation, "There may be a fire, so I should be careful," is the interpretant. This means a sign does not create meaning by itself. Meaning happens when the sign points toward something and produces an interpretation. For Peirce, communication is not just a message sent from one mind to another. It is a living process in which signs lead people to understand, infer, and respond. For Peirce, interpretation is not a final stop. One interpretation can become another sign, which then invites further interpretation. Think of a public statement. A politician gives a speech. A journalist interprets it in a headline. Viewers interpret the headline through their own assumptions. Social media users turn it into comments, memes, and arguments. Meaning keeps moving. Peirce helps us understand communication as a chain of interpretation, not as a single moment of expression. Peirce also helps us see that not all signs communicate in the same way. An icon resembles what it represents, like a portrait or a map. An index is physically or causally connected to its object, like smoke pointing to fire, or a footprint pointing to someone's passage. A symbol depends on convention, like a word, flag, or mathematical sign. This matters for communication because images, data traces, gestures, and words persuade us differently. A photograph, a statistic, and a slogan do not create meaning in the same way. Peirce also gives communication theory a way to understand inference. He emphasized adduction, the act of forming a plausible explanation from clues. Much of communication works this way. We hear a tone of voice and infer emotion. We see silence in a conversation and infer discomfort. We see a post online and infer intention, identity, or credibility. These interpretations may be reasonable, but they can also be wrong. Peirce reminds us that communication is full of intelligent guessing, and those guesses must remain open to correction. Peirce never saw social media, algorithms, or artificial intelligence, but his theory is remarkably useful for understanding them. A notification is a sign. A profile picture is a sign. A like, a repost, a QR code, a search result, and an AI-generated image are all signs that invite interpretation. Their meaning depends not only on what they display, but on how users connect them to objects, habits, expectations, and consequences. Peirce helps us ask, what interpretation does this sign produce, and what action does it encourage? So what does Peirce add to the story of communication? He does not replace rhetoric, persuasion, public debate, or language theory. Instead, he deepens them. He shows that communication is not only about speaking well, choosing words, or influencing audiences. It is about signs that produce interpretations, interpretations that form beliefs, and beliefs that shape habits of action. This is why Peirce matters. He turns meaning into a process, and he turns communication into an inquiry into consequences. Charles Sanders Peirce teaches us that meaning is not a static object. It is a process, a relation among signs, objects, interpretations, beliefs, and consequences. To Peirce, to study communication is to study how people make sense of the world together, often with incomplete evidence and changing signs. With Peirce, Season 1 ends by pointing beyond classical persuasion toward a broader theory of signs, inquiry, and social meaning. Thank you for watching this episode of Communication Thinkers Who Made History. The key sources for this episode are listed here and in the description, including the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and Peirce's 1878 essay, How to Make Our Ideas Clear. With Peirce, we close Season 1, Rhetoric and the Birth of Persuasion. In the next episode, we begin Season 2 with Ferdinand de Saussure, whose theory of language and signs will help us move from persuasion to social meaning. Please continue the journey with us.